Dear students, in this video, I am going to start the new unit of paper 5. It is unit 3, quantum mechanics. This is from paper 5. Unit 3 from paper 5. Quantum mechanics. So in classical physics, we study the macroscopic system. In this classical physics, the properties of the macroscopic bodies or system is described as a whole, the body as a whole. That means the overall features of the behavior of the system is explained in classical theory. For example, when a rigid body is in motion, we consider the rigid body as a whole, but we do not discuss the motion of all small particles of the body. That's how we study the dynamics of the body in classical physics. When the subatomic particles were discovered in the beginning of the 20th century and quantum theory was proposed by Max Planck, the new aspect of the nature of microscopic particles was evolved and a new theory was developed, and that theory is called quantum mechanics, which describes the microscopic system. That is the quantum mechanics. What is quantum mechanics? It is the branch of physics which describes the microscopic system. It is quantum mechanics. In classical mechanics, certainty about the future is possible, but in quantum mechanics, the certainty about the future is impossible because quantum mechanics always explores the probabilities. So in 1900, Max Planck introduced the concept of quantum hypothesis to explain the black body spectrum. Using this, Einstein explained photoelectric effect. He explained specific heat of solids also. Later, Niels Bohr used this quantum condition to explain the hydrogen spectrum. In 1924, the matter wave concept was proposed by de Broglie. This matter wave hypothesis, we already discussed about dual nature of matter. This matter wave hypothesis was confirmed experimentally by Davison and Germer. This one also we have studied in the previous unit. After that, the scientists such as J.P. Thomson, de Broglie, Schrödinger, Bohr, Heisenberg, Dirac, and some others, they have shown that the quantum conditions are very much important to explain many experimental facts. So, a mathematical framework was developed between 1924 and 1926. In this mathematical framework, the matter waves are treated as standing waves. And this mathematical work or the theory proposed, theory developed, is known as wave mechanics or quantum mechanics. Quantum mechanics is the fundamental theory in physics which provides the description of the physical properties of the nature at the atomic scale. It explains the physical properties of the nature at the atomic scale and also in the subatomic scale. In quantum mechanics, the quantity which varies and which makes up the matter wave is called the wave function. See, as we know, whenever a sound wave propagates through a medium, the variation occurs in pressure. There is variation in pressure. When an electromagnetic wave travels through a medium, the quantities which vary are electric vector and magnetic vector with time and space. This is how, in quantum mechanics, the quantity which varies and which makes up the matter wave is called the wave function. And see, the variable is a wave function represented by the Greek letter psi. Psi is the function of position and time. Say, the matter which exhibits the dual nature. Both, it behaves like the particle as well as the wave under suitable conditions. When the momentum of a particle is well defined, the wave associated with the particle can be having infinite extent. So, a free particle moving along x-axis with well-defined momentum is described by an infinite plane wave denoted as psi of xt, given by psi of xt equal to a. It's not a naught, make it a. This is a e to the power I into kx minus omega t. This is the representation of the plane wave when a wave or when a material particle travels along x direction, which is associated with the wave function is a e to the power I into kx minus omega t, where k known as the wave factor given by 2 pi by lambda, omega is angular frequency 2 pi f, k also called as propagation constant or the wave factor. This psi of xt, which explains the wave associated with the moving particle, it must be large in regions where the particle is like to be found. The value of psi of xt is large at the point where the probability of finding the particle is large, and the value of psi of xt would be small in the region where it is less likely to be found. Means it is less or it is small in the region where the probability of finding the particle is less. This is how here in quantum mechanics we explore the probabilities of finding the particle in a given region at a given time instant. And we get that probability of finding the particle at a given point at a given time using this wave function psi of xt. And here, the wave function of the particle, it is in accordance with the uncertainty principle proposed by Heisenberg. So that this wave function, it must be localized in a small region around it. The wave associated with the particle, it should be there associated with the particle. So it should be localized in a small region around the particle, is it not? The wave function of the matter wave, which is confined to a small region of space, is termed as the wave packet. So in quantum mechanics, we consider the concept of wave packet or wave group. These things already we discussed in the previous unit. So here, the wave function of the matter wave confined to a small region of space, and it is termed as wave packet or wave group. And mathematically, a wave packet, it's a group of waves. A wave packet constructed by superposition of infinite number of plane waves with slight difference in their k values. So a wave packet, it is the superposition of infinite number of plane waves, a large number of waves grouped together having slightly different values of k, and that wave function denoted by this expression. Now, let us interpret the wave function, what actually a wave function is. Here, in three-dimensional space or in space, in three-dimensional coordinate system, wave function is denoted as psi of rt. This wave function, which has no physical existence or significance of its own, because this wave function, it can be complex also. So, it has no physical existence. And here in quantum mechanics, we consider the probability of finding the particle at a given point, at a given position, at a given time. So, the probability, it's always real and non-negative. So, psi of rt, it cannot be taken as a direct measurement of probability at Rnt. Since probability is always real and non-negative, psi of rt cannot be taken as the direct measure of probability of finding the particle at a given point. Say, as the wave propagates, the wave, it can have both positive amplitude, negative amplitude. Psi of rt has got negative amplitude, means it is meaningless. So, in quantum mechanics, the probability psi of rt, it cannot give us the probability. For this, we consider the square of the magnitude of psi of rt. That gives the probability of finding the particle at a given point, there. A universally accepted statistical interpretation for this was suggested by Max Born in 1926, and according to his interpretation, the product of psi of RT and its complex conjugate, that is psi star RT, gives the position probability density. The probability of, see, instead of considering psi of RT to measure the probability at a given point, at a given time, at a given position and at a given time, Max Born suggested that the product of psi of RT and its complex conjugate psi star RT, it would give the position probability density. It gives us the probability of finding the particle at a given position at a given time, called position probability density, denoted as P of RT. Position probability density is psi star RT into psi of RT. Psi star RT, complex conjugate of this wave function. It's given by modulus of psi of RT square. This is P of RT gives or represents position probability density. Then the quantity mod psi of RT square, mod psi square d tau is the probability of finding the particle at the time t in a small volume element d tau. This one gives probability of finding the particle in a small volume d tau in space surrounding the given point R. Then the total probability of finding the particle in space. Say this gives the probability of finding the particle in a small volume d tau surrounding the point R. So that whenever the wave function is having infinite length, so it's the wave function is infinite plane wave. So the probability of finding the particle in space is given by this. Integration of this expression between the limits minus infinity to plus infinity. This one gives the probability of finding the particle in space. This is probability density. This is probability of finding the particle in space. Now, when the particle is in motion and when it is associated with the wave, then in space, at any point, we have to find out the particle at some one or other point. At any point, there is a finite probability of finding the particle. So, finding the particle at a given point is finite, means it should be equal to 1. So, this probability of finding the particle, it is equated to 1. Since the particle should be found somewhere in space, we have to find the particle anywhere, somewhere in space, at one point or some other point. We have to find the particle. There's no chance of not finding the particle in space. We have to find it. So the probability of finding the particle is always equal to 1 at one point or some other point. That's why this is equated to 1, and this condition is called as normalization condition. When this wave function it is equated to 1, this gives finite probability of finding the particle in space, at a point in space. So this is called as normalization condition. And here, this equation, say for this equation given the number 1, for the equation 1 to be finite, see there, as r tends to infinity, plus infinity or minus infinity, psi of RT, it must tend to 0 rapidly. Hence, here we multiply psi of RT by a constant, say n, so that n psi satisfies the condition of in equation 1. N psi satisfies the normalization condition. So that mod n square into this equal to 1. Here constant n is called normalization constant, and equation 2 gives the normalization condition. See, in some cases, suppose if this equation, if it doesn't satisfy this normalization condition, then it is normalized. The wave function is normalized by multiplying it by a constant n. That is normalization constant. And a wave function, should be a normalizable one always. This is a very much important condition required. The wave function associated with the wave of the particle, it should be normalizable. This is an important condition. And besides being normalizable, psi must be single valued, it must be finite, and it must be continuous. A well-defined wave function should satisfy these conditions. It should be normalizable, it should be having single value, it should be finite, and it should be continuous. And also, if you consider the momentum values, then it requires that the partial derivatives, del psi by del x, del psi by del y, del psi by del z, these should be finite, they should be continuous, and they should be single valued. And a wave function which satisfies all these properties is called a well-behaved wave function. Is called a well-behaved wave function. Wave function with all these properties is called well-behaved wave function. And this is about the quantum mechanics, and this is an introduction to quantum mechanics, or this is about the wave function. Now, using this wave function, Schrödinger, a scientist called Erwin Schrödinger, in 1926, he derived a linear partial differential equation. He obtained, or he postulated actually, not derived, he postulated a linear partial differential equation which describes the wave function or state function of a quantum mechanical system, and that equation is called Schrödinger's equation. He postulated that one, and that equation is named after him as Schrödinger's equation. Now let us derive time-independent Schrödinger equation. Sorry, not time-independent, time-dependent. First we derive time-dependent, then we find out the equation time-independent from this time-dependent. Now, time-dependent Schrödinger equation. To derive this, let us consider a particle of mass m moving along x-axis. Consider a particle of mass m moving along the x-axis, so it is associated with the wave, nothing but the matter wave. Let the wave function associated with the wave of that particle is, let it be psi of xt equal to a e to the power I kx minus omega t. Already I have given this one in the previous discussion. In the sense, while talking about the wave function, I had given that this expression. So there I took it as a naught. Better, let us take this. Instead of that, let us take that constant as a, not a naught. So the wave function associated with the moving particle is psi of xt equal to a e to the power I kx minus omega t. See here, the particle is moving along x-axis. That is why it has got only the position coordinate x. If it is in space, this becomes psi of rt. So since the particle is moving along x direction, the space coordinate is x, so wave function is psi of xt, given by this. We can write this one as, this expression as this. Say, take minus n outside, omega t here, minus kx. So this can also be written like this. Or, that is, a e to the power minus, say what is omega? Omega is 2 pi nu. Nu is the frequency. And we have E, energy associated with the moving particle. It is h nu, or that radiation, wave associated with the particle equal to h nu. So that nu is E by h. And the wavelength of the matter wave, de Broglie wavelength is h by p. This one already obtained in the previous unit. Lambda is h by p. Now substitute all these things in this expression, and by modifying it, we get the equation as a e to the power minus 2 pi I by h et minus px. See here, this omega, it is 2 pi nu. Omega is 2 pi nu. And this one, k is 2 pi by lambda. K is, or say s, k is 2 pi by lambda. See here, omega is 2 pi nu. K is 2 pi by lambda, so 2 pi is common, it's outside, and nu 1 by t, and here x by lambda. And 1 by t again, we take it as nu. Omega, say omega is 2 pi nu or 2 pi by t. Substitute that. 2 pi common outside. I into t by t minus x by lambda. So 2 pi I, 1 by t is nu minus x by lambda. E power minus 2 pi I into nu is taken as e by h t minus px by lambda. Substitute this lambda as h by p. Get px by lambda. So that h is common. Keep it outside. Inside et minus px. And here see minus 2 pi by h. What is h by 2 pi? H bar. So if you take this 2 pi here, h by 2 pi, you get h bar. So this becomes minus I by h bar. Got it? 2 pi denominator. H by 2 pi, it is taken as h bar. So equation becomes psi of x is a e power minus I by h bar into et minus px. Now, differentiate this one with respect to x twice. Differentiate this one with respect to x twice. See. Now, differentiating with respect to x once, you get delta psi by delta x, del psi by del x equal to, see, you know how to differentiate, is it not? Here, with respect to x means a e to the power the same term as it is into coefficient of x. What is it? Coefficient of x here says minus p into minus I by h bar. Coefficient of x is minus p to minus I by h bar, you get ip by h bar. Or what is this term? Actually it is psi. So you get I by h bar into p into psi. Now differentiate this one again. Now you get this term into ip by h bar twice. Ip by h bar into ip by h bar. And what about this term? This is psi. It is psi. And square of this. I square p square by h bar square. What is I square? I is complex number root minus 1. I is root minus 1. So I square is minus 1. P square psi by h bar square. Or from this, we write p square psi as minus h bar square into del square psi by del x square. This is equation 1. Now differentiate the same psi of xt with respect to t now. With respect to t, that is del psi by del t. What you get? The same term into coefficient of t. What is coefficient? Minus IE by h bar. You get minus IE by h bar. And what is this? This one is psi. So that next term is minus IE psi by h bar. Or from this, E psi is equal to minus h bar by I del psi by del t. That is equation 2. Now, here the particle is in motion. If the speed of the particle is very less compared to c, velocity of light, then let us apply the total energy, corresponding total energy, that is total mechanical energy. What is total energy? Kinetic energy plus potential energy. Applying this, kinetic energy plus potential energy equal to total energy. And then we substitute the expressions for kinetic energy and potential energy of the particle here. So this of the particle, not the wave. Remember, kinetic energy and potential energy of the particle. The particle is in motion, its velocity is less compared to c. Here, we consider the total energy of the moving particle. Kinetic energy plus potential energy, it is p square by 2m. How do we get? You know how to rearrange this. Kinetic energy is half m square. So I explain. Kinetic energy is half m square. It can be written as half m square v square by m. M square v square is p square. So it is p square by 2m. So again, kinetic energy half m v square. That is half m square v square by m. That is m is p, potential. So m square v square p square by 2m. Plus, we take the potential energy as v. We denote potential energy as v equal to E, total energy. Now multiply both sides by psi. From this wave function, we get this. Now, substituting 1 and 2 in this, we have the expressions for p square psi and E psi. Substitute, you get this. Or, here, left hand side remains the same, right hand side. Here, minus 1, I square. So I square, 1 I gets cancelled. This one becomes IH bar del psi by del t. Here minus 1 is taken as I square. So 1I cancels, 1I in the numerator, IH bar by del psi by del t. This is Schrodinger time-dependent equation. With this, I stop here.